Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today's series, Acclimation Mill, is, of course, Sam's real name, and while she's featured as the main player in this week's Starfleet Academy, the show is about Benjamin Sisko, really. In all the Star Trek projects, and we're talking film and TV programs, since the end of Deep Space Nine, there really has not been a mention, really, of Ben Sisko. And only in Lower Decks, even, was the show itself featured with some of the other characters. That, of course, if you don't count Worf, which was added in later on, and really, as he's been included in other films, they have denied that he was at Deep Space Nine, but just, he comes along with the Defiant and then helps them fight in the First Contact. Anyway, we have arguably the best written and acted Trek series in Deep Space Nine. This is something a lot of people will disagree on as to whether TNG or Deep Space Nine was the best show, but you have to think about just how well written most of those were, how well acted most of those are. While there were a number of incredibly good TNG episodes, there are very few clunkers in the DS9 series. The part where Q was in, I never thought was very good. However, Tawny Newsome, who played Mariner in Lower Decks, is a producer on this series and also wrote this episode and, in fact, acts in it as a professor. She's acknowledged that there has been much fan speculation. We know about this, about what became of Sisko. Was he killed in the fire caves? Did he actually ascend into the wormhole and join the prophets, or what? And they've never really come back to explain what happened, and I think they intended for it to be vague as it happens. So that all gets addressed in this episode. Sam, who is kind of the stand-in for Data, Spock, the holographic doctor, Phlox, and so on, is pressured by Orson, her makers, to show some progress on what she's learned about the organic beings. They want it fast. They want to know if it's going to be safe for the denizens of Cask. So Sam believes that she can learn more about humanity by taking a class that Professor Ilya teaches about confronting the unexplainable. Now, Illa will not take her into the class it's like midterm, so it's too late a date to really start a class, but she said if she could do some kind of demonstration of her willingness to work for the privilege of coming in at that time, that she would consider it. So Sam sees herself as an emissary of her people in order to know whether they should trust the organics and maybe join the Federation. Who knows what the deal is there, but no doubt she sees herself as an emissary, and when she's looking for something to do as a project to prove herself, she comes across Ben Sisko, who has this mystery. Is he one of the prophets now? Did he just die? And see if we can find out about it. She starts with kind of a fact-based investigation, and that moves along. Now, the remainder of the episode essentially is a tribute to DS9. They're Bajorans at the Academy, and so she talks to them about what they think of Sisko and kind of insults them most of the way, unintentionally. And she finds that there is a virtual museum that can be displayed at the Academy, and so she goes through everything that she can find out through the materials to begin her search. And this leads to our first look at 32nd century San Francisco. She's taking a break from her friends and suggests that they go to a place that Sisko in DS9 had mentioned, which was called, I forget what it was called. Now it's called the I don't know what it's called. It doesn't matter. It's some kind of 32nd century disco. And she gets drunk because Caleb figures out how to reprogram her in order for her to be able to experience some of the things that they do. Once again, a tendency to be a more human. And some people have said, well, this is, once again, what is it that Caleb can't do? But I mean, this is something fairly simple. Holographic characters have been around now for 800 years, and he is pretty good with computers, we've established, so that would follow. But anyway, the 32nd century San Francisco does have an interesting feature, which is a quarks. It's just, in the detail shown for about 5 seconds and then not followed up on, but kind of careful, kind of interesting little bit that they put in there, as there are a number of Easter eggs. You can go through the Cisco Museum and see some things that might not necessarily have actually been there, but were mentioned in other episodes. And I thought that was a nice thing to do. Anyway, so there's an opportunity there when they go into the city to have some adventures with the rest of the cast. And later on, we see a holographic rendering of Jake Sisko. And he provides a profile of who Ben was as a person rather than a historical figure. And there's also some reference to a book he was writing based on his relationship with his father. And that becomes part of the story as well. But it was good to see Sarah Clofton. I don't know that I've seen him in anything. I mean, he's done some work since DS9, but not as big a part as was Jake. And the whole story of DS9 essentially was a story of a father and the son, and then other things that went on at the same time. But that was always the center of it, and always the heart of the show. So I thought Sarah Clofton gave a great performance. And by the end of the episode, Sisko's fate still is a mystery, and that respects the canon, I think. But his advice that was channeled through Jake provides a solution for Sam to her problem, just not really the solution that she expected to get. It's a very touching story, and Avery Brooks does not appear. He's been retired for quite some time and out of public life mostly, but he did give permission to Tawny Newsome and the show to use a narration on a jazz album recording he made some years ago. And despite the fact that that's the only thing that you see or hear of him, he is omnipresent throughout the entire episode. And I think the great respect that he and his character were treated, and DS9 canon, are something to be congratulated for in the producers of this episode. There is a little comic relief there. Aki, Reno, and the Doctor try to help Kelrek organize a dinner party for some diplomats that are coming to the Academy. And he obviously is a little uptight about it all, and it provides some comic relief and shows that he does too have a sense of humor. It just doesn't always come out among those people. Anyway, we also find out that Darum is allergic to bananas, and when he eats them, vomits glitter. This reminds me of Farscape, where Rigel farts helium. It's just a funny little bit, and no harm done there. All in all, I think this was an excellently written and well-acted episode. I was a little distracted about the floating emojis and things like that, but I think, and this is just my opinion here, I think that probably it was the way that Sam thinks. She is a hologram, and therefore she thinks in terms of holograms, words floating off the page, and even the last Jake encounter, while she's reading the book, she envisions him speaking to her and interacting with her. And I think that was a clever device that they used in order to do that. So by the end of the episode, she finds her answer. And her answer is not what she was looking for, but what she needed, which was a way to deal with her makers. And we get to see what her character is all about in a rather loving tribute to DS9, which has been way too long in coming. So why not subscribe if you've not done so already? And of course, please leave a comment if you'd like. We read them all and respond to most of them. We want to remind you that coming up on Tuesday, we will have another review of Farscape, speaking of Farscape. And Professor O and I have another movie to talk about. We'll tell you about that later. But that's coming up on Thursday. And then we'll be back next week with another episode to review of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. So until then, thank you for joining us, and don't go far.